Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the internet has been a pretty crazy place the last few days, and boy, oh boy, it's not slowing down anytime soon. The gaming discussion has just absolutely exploded in all different directions, and it's actually hard to keep up with all of it. But we have this wonderful, wonderful take from Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire. Now, because of Matt Walsh, we now know that wokeness has taken over video games, because according to Matt Walsh, no one was talking about this until he's talked about it. Now, I'm being very sarcastic when I say that. He didn't say that per se, but he definitely alluded to the fact that this is a problem that has not been discussed until now. Now it's finally being discussed and people are aware of it. And it's like, that is not the take you should have had. And I'm going to break down exactly why I have a problem with that and what he could have said. I don't have a problem that Matt Walsh is talking about a very serious problem that has been going on for a long time. I'm mad because he still has the dismissive nature that he always has had, and he has learned absolutely nothing, and this is not going to help the problem at all. But let's back up to the beginning part of his show right here, and he fully acknowledges what people like me and many others have been aware of for a long, long time, that the video game industry is the biggest industry and it's not even close, which is why it's so important.
So here's a statistic that, at least if you were born at any point prior to the 1990s, might be hard to believe. By revenue, the gaming industry is bigger than both the movie industry and the music industry combined. And for the past several years, it hasn't been especially close. The difference is consistently more than $100 billion per year. So video games are a massive market, one that's mostly targeted at young people, of course. But
it is a massive market. It is the market. And it's such a different world. And someone like Matt Walsh has no idea about this world. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't get it. I don't think he wants to get it. And that is the problem with everything that he had to say. Now, he goes through this video game topic for about 19, 20 minutes. He's covering the radical wokeness in the video game industry. Now, am I glad that he is at least highlighting this problem? Absolutely. But everything he said, he is completely off base on. He doesn't understand what's going on. He doesn't understand that it's been happening and people have been talking about it and highlighting it for a long time. He then said that kids are spending hundreds of hours a year playing video games. It's like, bro, they're spending hundreds of hours a week playing video games. And yeah, then he ends it on the note, and that's really my biggest problem with what he ends on. And we're going to pull that clip up here in just a minute. But you have to understand, like, all of this is happening for multiple reasons right now. We are in an election season. They have already blamed the rise of Donald Trump in 2016 on gamers. That is something that I posted not too long ago, where they blamed Donald Trump's election on Gamergate and gamers and all of that, which is nonsense. They don't understand any of that. Now we've got this Sweet Baby Inc. story that has blown up and gone crazy. Everyone's talking about Gamergate 2, and the discussion just continues to spiral out of control. The Sweet Baby Inc. story needed to be highlighted, and I'm glad that it has been highlighted, and I hope that it continues to uncover all of the bullshit that's been going on in the games industry for a long time. But the gaming industry is so big, and there's so many moving parts to it, and there's so many different directions that you can go that there's not one single place that you can focus in on. And that's where Matt Walsh doesn't really seem to understand this. The indie gaming world is massive. It's bigger than probably anyone truly understands. Then you have the Nintendo side of things. You have your console stuff. You have Steam. You have all of these different moving parts that are not directly connected to each other in any way, shape, or form. But then you have a lot of these consultant companies that are coming in and they are poisoning the industry. But Matt Walsh doesn't understand any of that. I saw this tweet right here from Black Girl Gamers, and I truly, like, I can't believe this is not a parody account. I can't believe it. Their bio says, heightening black women's voices in gaming. Award-winning company powered by 10,000 plus global community, consultancy and advisory content talent agency. So they're a consultancy and advisory content is what they are claiming. And I still, I can't get over the stupidity in this tweet. The amount of harassment we've had recently due to this Gamergate 2 is not surprising. This is the best part. Gamers thought that the industry revolved around them and their comforts are now realizing it doesn't. Gamers thought that the gaming industry revolved around them. And now you're telling gamers that the gaming industry does not revolve around them. We've had emails, comments, and threats, but you know what? We're not going anywhere. Absolute nonsense. These types of things are happening on a different level right now. And so many people are finally catching on to it. Matt Walsh decided to talk about it today. And at the end of his video, this is what he said. Now, this is my tweet where I said Matt Walsh is the first person to highlight wokeness in the video game industry, according to Matt Walsh. A little bit of sarcasm, a little bit of hyperbole. But if you listen to the language in Matt Walsh's last 50 seconds here of this clip, we're going to talk about all of it right here.
Is that the video game industry, without a lot of fanfare, has transformed into a tool of both propaganda and surveillance.
The video game industry without a lot of fanfare. I'm going to tell you exactly how Matt Walsh should have handled this when we're done with this clip, but it infuriates me that he is so far off base. Now, I know a lot of people go, well, Matt Walsh is just being sarcastic. Yes, every time Matt Walsh has a cringe take or a bad take, when he said anime is demonic, when he says all these things, everybody says he's just joking. Well, he talks about serious topics, and he talks about how important they are to children and young minds and all of that. So is he joking about children and how they're being indoctrinated, or is he trying to talk about serious things? I believe that Matt Walsh hates the idea of nerd and geek culture. I think he hates the idea of anime and video games. I think that he hates the idea of a grown-ass man playing a video game or watching an anime. I think he despises that idea. I think he truly despises that idea. Do I believe that there's sarcasm within what he's saying at times? Absolutely. But at his core, he despises someone like me, someone like you, someone that likes video games and anime and shit like that. He despises it.
It's an effective way to indoctrinate children precisely because it hasn't received much attention, and also because children...
Precisely because it hasn't received much attention, it's absolutely received a ton of attention. It's been receiving attention for years and years and years, and people like you have sat there and looked down upon the gaming industry and gamers and dismissed it completely. And your last statement in this video shows exactly why you don't get it and you never will. Let's back it up a little bit.
Precisely because it hasn't received much attention, and also because children spend, many of them, hundreds of hours a year.
Little more than that.
That might be an undercount, a severe undercount.
It is.
With this kind of content. So it should get a lot of our attention. And now finally that attention is here.
So finally the attention is here. It should be getting the attention, and finally the attention is here. The attention has been there, Matt. You have chosen to be disrespectful and dismissive of that industry and people that have been talking about that industry. But now that the algorithm is there, all of a sudden it's time to talk about it. I get it. Nothing wrong with that. But just call it what it is.
And it's yet another reason to keep these games as far away from your children as possible. And if you do that, games journalists, literally the lowest form of journalists on the planet, will accuse you of harassment. And that's exactly how you'll know that you're doing the right thing. Now let's get to our 5 headlines.
So his whole answer is, let's just keep kids away from video games altogether. He also says games journalists are the lowest forms of journalists on the planet. Now, while I would definitely agree with that statement, but I understand where he's coming from with that statement. That shot at games journalists is not a shot at games journalists. That's a shot at gamers and gaming. That's what that shot is. Because we live in a world where CNN are journalists. All right? We live in that world. But that comment is meant to purely and decisively disrespect not just the gaming journalist, because he knows nothing about the gaming journalist. That is a shot at gamers and gaming is what that is. But back to it, where his answer is to keep children away from video games. Such an unrealistic and just plain out stupid take. You're never going to keep kids away from video games. You said it at the beginning of your show, right here. You said it at the beginning of your show. You said it's the biggest industry. Trying to get it back. Right here.
1990s might be hard to believe. By revenue, the gaming industry is bigger than both the movie industry and the music industry combined. And for the past several years, it hasn't been especially close. The difference is consistently more than $100 billion per year. So video games are a massive market, one that's mostly targeted at young people, of course.
Yes, massive market. And so your idea is, well, we'll just get kids away from video games. That is not a realistic answer. That is not a realistic decision. That's not a realistic option. The most realistic option is to take back video games away from these activists and these left-wing lunatics. That's the most realistic option that we have right now, because getting people away from video games is about as unrealistic as when the NFL says, end racism. You're never going to end racism. What you do is ignore the people that are blatantly and obviously like that. And you just let them exist in their little bitty bubble, and they can continue to be however they want to be, and no one's going to give them any attention. It's just like Morgan Freeman said, and I believe it was a CNN interview or an ABC interview, I can't remember. And it was Mike Walsh, right? I think Mike Walsh asked him about it, like with racism. He's like, stop talking about it. Stop bringing it up. Stop. And you go back to the 90s or the 2000s, and we were a lot less divided then than we are now. And the reason we are more divided now than we were then, and racial relations were much better then, is because you didn't have all of these politicians and the mainstream media pushing the racist narrative. So that nonsense about end racism and all of that, it's about as realistic as have everyone stop playing video games. That is not going to happen. Now, what Matt Walsh should have said in this video is really simple. It's really, really simple. He could have started out talking about the industry and how big the industry is and how impactful the industry is, go through it and talk about the problems within the industry, highlighting all of the issues that he highlighted in his video. And then in the closing remarks, he could have said, gamers have been aware of this for a long time. There's a lot of gamers out there that have been telling everyone that would listen about the wokeness in the video game industry. And many of us have turned a blind eye to it because we were not aware of just how bad it was or how big this industry has become. But now here we are, where many people are realizing what is going on. And there is a massive industry out there with a lot of passionate people that have been trying to call this out for a long time. And if more people with bigger platforms can come together and help elevate these gamers that have been trying to protect their industry, we can help them crush all of these activists that have overrun their industry and take it back. That's it. You say that, everybody's on your fucking side. Everybody's happy. Everybody's going, wow, he gets it. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, man, we've been hoping that somebody like you with a platform like you have would realize what's going on, would realize that we've been talking about this for years and years and years, and all we want is for the activists and the propaganda to get pushed out, and we want to get back to games just being fun without all the sexual bullshit and the racial bullshit and the pandering and all of that. We just want video games to be fun again. And we're so happy that you're here to join this fight with us. But no, once again, he had to dismiss, disrespect, and ultimately show that he just has a pure hatred for gaming, for nerds, for geeks, for everyone that's in that sphere. And that's why this has completely fallen flat, and it's not going to be a good response that he's going to get. I promise you that. And a lot of people are finding out that when it comes to gamers, and there are a lot of us out there, a whole hell of a lot of us, as the numbers that he provided says, Gamers are not going to back down, and they are not going to let this go, and they're going to let you know exactly how they feel. So if Matt Walsh thinks he hates gamers now, he's going to certainly hate them moving forward, because they're going to drive him crazy after he disrespected so many. And this is not a win at all. This is a massive L from someone that has no real interest in understanding the industry, understanding the fans, and understanding the problem so that we can then correct the problem. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for checking out this video, and we will talk to you later.